Denny Drayton opened the door on his patrol car. He spit onto the asphalt of the Ealing Mall's parking lot and then stood up, angling his spotlight so it would fully illuminate the strange creature in front of the pancake house. It was not a good idea. Denny Drayton thought it must have been some kind of prank. Maybe somebody was making a movie or something. Denny Drayton wished he could be in a movie. What the heck is that shit? Denny Drayton said. Denny Drayton drew his pistol. His gun was a 9mm Sig Sauer model P250. Denny Drayton's pistol was made in New Hampshire. Compared to Johnny McKeon's Smith & Wesson .50 Magnum, Denny Drayton's weapon was a rubber band gun. Travis Pope's attention was riveted to all the lights blazing from the patrol car. He was not hungry, but he decided to kill the man making all the noise and light anyway. Unstoppable soldiers do that kind of shit. Johnny McKeon came outside just then. Johnny pointed his powerful pistol in the direction of Travis Pope. Johnny McKeon was not a good shot. He knew he would miss hitting the creature unless he got very, very close. Pastor Roland Duff had never had sex with another person in his entire life. He believed he was ready to have sex with his new friend, Sean Doherty. Roland Duff imagined the thrill of experimenting with another man after all his lonely years. He was very excited about it. Roland Duff adjusted his uncomfortable erection and sat watching the police lights from across the street. He was curious. Pastor Roland Duff could not tell what was going on. Sometimes Pastor Roland Duff counseled himself over his own doubts and weaknesses. He could not decide whether he was a virgin or not. Pastor Roland Duff did believe that masturbation was immoral and compromising. Roland Duff was frequently racked by guilt. He was uncertain if he could still be a virgin and masturbate as often as he did. Pastor Roland Duff thought he would masturbate when he got back home that night. Pastor Roland Duff did not get the chance. At exactly that moment, ash flakes fell like snow in Guatemala on the home of Robert Breeze Sr. For some strange reason, Robert Breeze Sr. thought about the son he left behind in Iowa. Robbie would be 16 now, he thought. Robbie Breeze Sr. watched the ashes falling and falling. He had not thought about his son in years. Eric Christopher Zerba was lying awake in a hospital bed. Eric was looking at the tubes and medications near the head of his bed and wondering if anything there could be useful to him in committing suicide. Robbie Breeze and I were driving out from Ealing toward the McKeon house. We were going back to Eden to watch the last reels from Eden Orientation Series. Robbie played Let It Bleed in the tape deck, and Robbie sang along with Love in Vain. Robbie Breeze reached across the center console and put his hand on top of mine. The wife of the Vice President of the United States of America was performing oral sex on the Vice President. It was the Vice President's birthday, and the Vice President of the United States of America was getting a blowjob. Franklin and Theodore were very happy. I had not named my balls. Robbie Breeze had not named his balls either. I asked him about it. Robbie said to me, who would ever name his balls? I said, I would like to, but once you give your balls names, there is no going back. Well, if you do think up names for your balls, let me know what they are. I would hate for us to have balls with the same name in such a small town as Ealing, Robbie said. Robbie was always so smart about small town social blunders and shit like that. Having balls with the same name as your best friends is a serious social blunder, I said. That is the truth. Get down on the ground, Trooper Denny Drayton said to the Travis Pope. Johnny McKeon was very scared. He crept across the parking lot. The Smith & Wesson .50 Magnum was so heavy it hurt Johnny McKeon's wrist just to hold it. Travis Pope got closer and closer to Denny Drayton. The last thing Denny Drayton said was his motto. He said, "Fuck this shit. I have a gun, motherfucker." Then Denny Drayton began shooting at Travis Pope. Johnny McKeon ducked. Across the street, Pastor Roland Duff ducked. Denny Drayton fired and fired and fired. Unstoppable soldiers do not like being shot at. They also have exoskeletons that are bulletproof as bulletproof as the hull of an aircraft carrier. They are unstoppable. Denny Drayton emptied his gun. He was in the process of reloading when Travis Pope unhinged his barbed arms and picked Denny Drayton up by his head. Travis Pope bit most of the trooper's head off and let Denny Drayton's hairless and tattooed body fall down onto the blacktop. Johnny McKeon whispered, "Well, I'll be danged." Johnny McKeon was smart. He did not fire his pistol at the monster. Johnny McKeon quietly went around to the driver's side of his truck, got behind the wheel, and drove off. Stan, the owner of Satan's Pizza, and Pastor Roland Duff, the headmaster from Curtis Crane Lutheran Academy, were not so smart. But they were curious. Pastor Roland Duff was curious about a lot of things. He was still fantasizing about Sean Doherty. Nothing exciting ever happened in Ealing. Pastor Roland Duff and Stan, the owner of Satan's Pizza, who had come from behind the counter when he heard that sounded like gunfire, stepped out onto the street to see what was causing all the commotion across Kimber Drive at Grasshopper Jungle. It was not a good idea. Exile in Eden. Robbie drove the Ford Explorer through the fields of weeds and brambles behind Shan's house. He parked beside the dilapidated chicken coops where the hatch into Eden sat nearly unnoticeable in the center of an old concrete pad. Ingrid was excited. She had found a new place to shit. Robbie opened the hatch, and the welcome recording began again, and the room below us lit up. I took my phone out of my pocket of my Eden 5 jumpsuit. I did not need to explain to Robbie that I was calling Shan Collins. Robbie knew what I was doing. I wanted to try to get Shan to listen to me. We all needed to be safe now, and the unstoppable soldiers had come out kneeling. Shan would not answer my call. I knew she was not asleep. It was 11. No teenager in the world goes to sleep before 11. I left a voice message as Robbie stood near and listened. There was no need to hide anything from Robbie Breeze. I had no secrets with him. I had no secrets with Shan Collins either. This is what I said. Shan, I am sorry. I told you I do stupid shit without thinking about who it might hurt. But the truth is, I think you need to come to Eden. Me and Robbie are going back inside now, so my phone won't work, just in case you want to tell me I'm disgusting again. We have the rest of the film. I think something terrible is happening in Ealing, and maybe we are the only ones who can stop it. Well, I love you, Shan. I really do love you. You have to know that, Shan. Please come to Eden with me and Robbie. Hurry. I put the phone back inside my jumpsuit. I rubbed the silver medallion of St. Casimirs between my thumb and forefinger. I said, St. Casimirs, I am Polish. I am a kid. I'm not sure if I'm technically a virgin or not, but a solid 2 out of 3 gives me hope you might look out for me and Robbie and Ingrid. Robbie stood watching me. I said, I really do love you, Robbie. How can I be in love with 2 people at once? I don't know how you can do that, Austin. It was very difficult carrying Ingrid down the ladder. Not only did I fail to think about bringing clean underwear and shit like that, I had never even thought about how I would get my 60-pound golden retriever down a very tall ladder. Robbie had to help. We sandwiched Ingrid between us and climbed down. We must have looked like a reject hybridization of 2 boys and a barkless dog. It was probably some kind of shit they had pulled at McKean Industries back in the 60s, too. By the time we finally got down into the mudroom, we were both damp with sweat. We smelled like dog fur, and the repeated welcoming tape was driving us crazy. I have BO, I said. I know, Robbie agreed. Robbie and I went back up one final time to get my history books and the things Robbie had brought from the Del Vista Arms. Then we sealed the 3 of us, me, Ingrid, and Robbie, inside the Eden Project. Robbie and I put on clean pairs of white Eden Scientist socks in the locker room. I thought about changing into a clean jumpsuit, but I did not want to give up the number 5. I wanted to take a shower, but we had too much shit to do. Robbie Breeze left his bundle of things on the bench we'd been sitting on. I carried the 2 final reels of film, and Robbie followed me into the theater room. A chance meeting under a portrait of a Presbyterian, or Calvin Coolidge's canoe. My father's name is Eric Andrew Zerba. His Polish name was Eric Andrzej Zerba. His father, Felek, was a scientist at McKean Industries. Felek Andrzej Zerba was the world's first unstoppable soldier. All roads cross here on my desk. As a historian, I realized, too, that we were all on the same road all the time. Sometimes we drive in circles, or the wrong way, because we were stupid like that. And that was my day. You know what I mean. Eric Zerba, my father, was only a little boy when Felek was killed. Raising 5 fatherless Polish boys in Ealing, Iowa, was a tremendous challenge for my grandmother, says Ksenia Zerba. Dr. Grady McKean saw to it that the family was provided for, so Ksenia never had to go to work, and McKean Industries subsidized the 5 brothers' educations. All the Zerbas moved far away from Iowa after my grandmother died. Ksenia Zerba died of exhaustion in 1992, several years before I was born. Only my father, Eric, stayed in Ealing, where he became a teacher after graduating college. Eric Zerba's first teaching assignment was at Herbert Hoover High School, Ealing's public school. He began teaching when he was 22 years old. In the first year of teaching world history, Eric Zerba met a 15-year-old boy named Kelly Kenny. Kelly Kenny is a true Iowa kind of name for a boy. It is a name that almost tastes like buttermilk, biscuits, and honey. Kelly Kenny is not such a good student, but Kelly Kenny was persistent. At least once per week, Kelly Kenny would say this to Eric Zerba. "Hey, Mr. Zerba, you should meet my sister Connie. She's 20 years old and a real dynamo. You are single, right, Mr. Zerba? You should go out with Connie. Here's our phone number. Connie likes going out to the movies, and you would make a nice couple. Connie is not a slut either. You should call on her, Mr. Zerba. It would be neat." Eric Zerba was not the kind of young man who would ever call on a girl based on an urgent pleading from a 15-year-old boy. Eric and Connie would never have met solely as a result of Kelly Kenny's persistent prodding. It was Connie Kenny who came into Eric Zerba's classroom on behalf of her parents at Herbert Hoover High School's open house in the fall semester in 1982. In 1982, every classroom at Herbert Hoover High School had a portrait of Ronald Reagan hanging above the blackboard. Ronald Reagan was President of the United States of America in 1982. I can find no historical records anywhere that detail whether Ronald Reagan ever took a shit, or if he named his balls. I believe Ronald Reagan most likely did name his balls. I believe that Ronald Reagan, the President of the United States of America, named both his balls the same thing, Calvin Coolidge. Ronald Reagan would have named both his balls Calvin Coolidge just to avoid any confusion on his part. It may have been a social blunder, but it made remembering your balls much easier. No one wants to be caught in the embarrassing situation of forgetting the name of only one of your balls. Connie Kenny was a Lutheran, met my father, Eric Andrzej Zerba, a Catholic who smoked cigarettes, beneath a portrait of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was Presbyterian. Kelly Kenny claims to have been responsible for Eric and Connie's eventual marriage, but history shows that it was the result of the meeting of 2 in a classroom at a public school beneath a portrait of a Presbyterian who never took a shit and named his balls Calvin Coolidge. I once saw a photograph of Calvin Coolidge in an exhibit at the Library of Congress. Calvin Coolidge was riding in a canoe. The canoe was named Beaver Dick. I could not make this up if I tried. That is the truth.